I see people trying to flip and pitch all the time, but I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to get your flipping and pitching in gear so you can put your bait into that cover. The first thing you want to do is that I do all my pitching and flipping with a bait casting gear. I like at least a 7 foot, probably a 7.5 foot cash and flipping stick is what I flip with. You want a high speed reel, and you want to have a good quality fluorocarbon. If you have a low end fluorocarbon, when you get up to these bigger line sizes like 20, 25 pound test, man, you're just going to have tons of memory and you're not going to be able to flip and pitch very accurately. I use Sunline Shooter. Sunline Sniper works very well. Also, those two lines are what I highly recommend. And then you want to start out with a heavier lure. This is a 1/2 ounce jig. You want to start out with something heavy so that you can get the feel before you go to a little bit lighter weights. So this is where you want to start. You want to have your bait about the same distance as your reel. That's where you want to start. No matter what your rod length is, that's about where you want to start. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your reel, turn it over on its side. It does a couple things. It helps keep your line off of the rod tip, and it's going to help your wrist move in a more natural motion. See, when my wrist is straight up like that, if the reel was up, I have a real short range of motion on my wrist. If I turn my wrist over, I've got a longer, stronger range of motion. That's where you're going to get all your accuracy, and that's what you're going to create all your momentum with as you flip. So you're going to take that reel, flip it over on its side, push the button, you're going to keep your thumb on the spool, and then you're going to let the rod pendulum, all with your wrist, not with your arm, all with your wrist. You're going to let the bait pendulum out. Your rod's going to go up. Your rod's going to go back down as the bait gets closer to the water. Then you're going to stop the spool with your thumb, just like that. So I'm going to reel it up. Grab the bait again, just to show you. And I'm going to flip it, and then I'm stopping the spool, just like that. Very accurately, very easily. And when you get used to it, you can reel it up. Reel it up, you don't have to grab the bait. You can pitch it right wherever you want to. I'm keeping the rod butt away from my body, raising my elbow, but all the action is created with my wrist, not with my elbow, not with my shoulder. That's the only reason I'm keeping the rod off my body, is just to keep the butt of the rod from hitting me. Now, when you hear people talking about flipping, the only difference between pitching and flipping is that flipping is actually when you grab the line and pull the line out and you make the same pitching motion. You're still going to turn your reel over, but that's called flipping. That was you started by D. Thomas and Dave Glebe and those guys out west flipping the toolies on the California Delta. They were grabbing their line and doing that same pitching motion, but without even having to engage the reel. Just an efficient way. They didn't have high-speed reels back then. This was their way of getting the bait out and back into another spot real quickly, is just grabbing that line, letting it slide. The key is to let that line slide on your thumb, not to grab the line with your hands, because once that line gets wet, or your hands get wet, the line does not slide on your hands. You want to put that line right on your thumbnail. No matter if you got braid or fluorocarbon, you're going to let that thing slide just like that, and your line's going to slide real smooth no matter what. Your hand's wet, dry, doesn't matter. You're going to slide right up and down, be able to get that bait in and out of cover quickly and efficiently. You're going to catch more fish while you're doing it. So that's how you pitch and flip. Practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the more that's going to get nice and easy for you. You can flip way back up under things. You can have some awesome trick casts if you practice the way I told you.